Margret Allen was born in 1906 and she was the 20th child out of 22 children. Growing up, she would dress up in male clothing, expressing she wanted to be a man and wanted everyone to call her Bill. She would perform tasks and taking on jobs usually given to men, loading coal, bricklaying, and eventually becoming a bus conductor until she was fired after abusing passengers, swearing at them, shoving them, using physical violence, all because they wasn't being seated quick enough. Around 1935, Margret Allen claimed that she checked herself in to St Mary's Hospital in Manchester to have a delicate procedure performed. She then went on to tell people she'd had a sex change operation and was now a man. It seems likely that Margret Allen was being untruthful about, or at least exaggerating, the nature of any treatment she received. Perhaps she was so desperate, wanting to change her gender and be accepted as a man. She convinced herself and others that she had been physically altered. She called herself now Bill. She cut all her hair short, dressed in nothing but men's clothing. She would be drinking in working men's clubs, acting out her new role of being a man. In 1943, Margret Allen's mother died, and she became withdrawn from social activities. She wasn't eating properly, smoking excessively, and went through bouts of depression. She felt and was alone, no one to talk to, even though she was the 20th child from 22 children. She was estranged from all 21 of her siblings, possibly of her being transgender. On August the 28th, 1948, 68 years old Mrs. Nancy Ellen Chadwick, who was always known to carry large sums of money around in her handbag, but she was also known to rather scrounge off others than spend her own cash. Being Margaret's neighbour, she would often visit Margaret, asking to borrow sugar. Miss Chadwick's body was found on the road outside Margret Allen's house. Her head had been so badly battered and there was blood splattered everywhere. She was unrecognisable. At first, it was suspected that she was a hit and run victim, but the police later determined that her wounds had been caused by a coal hammer. And there was a trail of blood coming from Margaret's house to Miss Chadwick's body, all onto the road. Margaret watching the police staring at them for long periods of time as they inspected the area around Miss Chadwick's body. Either being overconfident that they wouldn't suspect it was Margaret, or she intended to be the centre of attention, she rushed over to a detective, pointing to the nearby river, saying, "Look, there's something there." The object that was there was Miss Chadwick's handbag, minus the cash she would carry around with her. September the 1st, 1948. The police arrived at 137 Buckup Road, Margaret's home. They noticed bloodstains on the inside wall to her doorway. They found more blood marks in the cellar and hairs that matched Miss Chadwick's hair. Margaret then admitted to killing Miss Chadwick. She was arrested and taken in for questioning. In questioning, Margaret said, "I was in a funny mood. She insisted of coming into my house. I just looked around and I saw a hammer in the kitchen. And on the spur of the moment, I hit her. She gave me a shout, and that seemed to start me off more, and I hit her a few more times. I don't know how many though." She was then charged with the murder to Miss Chadwick and sent to Strangeways prison till her trial. On the day of her trial, Margret Allen was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging. Despite the attempts, her defendant tried to prove her insane. On the night before Margret Allen's execution, she was brought her last meal of scrambled eggs as requested. She kicked the tray, scattering the food and rudely remarking, "At least no one will enjoy that meal." On the morning of 12th of January 1949, Margret Allen expressed no remorse and went to the scaffold in the execution chamber at Strangeways prison. She chose not to make any final statement and was executed by Albert Pierpoint. She was not allowed to wear her preferred men's clothing and was given a prison dress instead. Margret Allen was the first female execution in Britain for over 12 years since Charlotte Bryant, who I'm going to be doing on my next video, in 1936, and only the third female to be hanged at Strangeways prison in Manchester. And that's my story on Margret Allen. And researching it, they were sort of saying that she was being untruthful about her sex change. I sort of researched, like, knowing that Strangeways prison was a male's prison. So I sort of thought, well, did she have a sex change then? But when I researched a bit more, Strangeways prison was for male and female prisoners up until 1963, until it became males only. So, you know, it probably was true, her being untruthful about her sex change, but she was quite violent growing up. She had like a violent streak. So yeah, I think, you know, the motive of the murder to that poor elderly lady, you know, it was just rage. You know, there was no motive to it, and you know, it was just evil. And you know, that poor woman. But you know, researching a bit more, you know, looking more into it, like between like the 1500s to the late 1800s, like people would be hanged for being homosexual, and could even like face chemical castration or prison for that supposed crime, you know, and it would only apply to men. So, you know, just it's just horrible, isn't it, for them like to feel that they want to be somebody else, and that, you know, back then they couldn't have done it because of like having the fear of being hanged, you know, to being truly who you are. So yeah, researching the story. If you've heard of this story before, please let us know in the comments. But thank you for watching. Big love to you all, and peace out.